Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. I wasn't going to record any more Isaac today, but I was like, you know what, first off, we got an early start, which is always nice. Stats are good, dude. LS0FJVTH. And really the only thing that's even modestly annoying is our tier stat. Everything else, very good. Even our spacebar item. Yes, even our spacebar item. How do you use D7? We've been through this on this streak. We gotta reinforce the knowledge, though. You know, when you're young, you're kind of a sponge, you know? And anything you learn or you experience, you soak up. You can, at least. You got more ability, too. But the older you get, the more you become like a piece of stone. You gotta chisel it in. Now, the thing is, I mean, as long as we're sticking with the metaphor, sponge soaks up everything, but is very temporal, you know? Hold on, I gotta sneeze. I still gotta... It's right there. Oh, I don't think it's gonna... It's still kind of tingling, but it's not gonna get us there. Okay, that's fine. Hold on, I had a bunch of jokes in my head, and I was like, nah, don't say them. Anyway. We're not gonna open that golden chest. I think it's worth saving a key here. But, you know, a stone, you know, when you're chiseling something in, once it's chiseled, you know, it's there for life. Or until it ends up in the British Museum. In which case, I don't know what I'm even going with that. It doesn't... Yeah, anyway. It just doesn't make any sense. Amazing museum, don't get me wrong. Probably by far the best museum I've ever been to. I'm trying to think of other examples. I haven't been to that many museums, honestly. I'm gonna just be straight up with you. Book of the Dead is better than anything else we got going on, even though the D7... Well, so, like, we're not gonna chisel. Instead, we're gonna lose all of our D7 knowledge. But I'm pretty sure that the way we use that is if we get hit, we use D7 to get out of the room. Is that correct? I believe that's correct. How dare you? How flippin' dare you? I knew I had you with one hit. It's just a matter of getting it done. Anyway, it is, for the record, still Wednesday. Everything is A-okay. And, pretty routine day, to be straight up with you. You know what I'm looking forward to today? Oh, I mentioned in the last episode, we got this beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. And, oh, man, got a little ham, a little cheese. Some arugula from the garden. Have a beautiful little lunchtime sandwich. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm very much interested. Sorry. It's a big day on Discord as well. Coordinating some things with some folks. Had to go check on that real quick. Alright, so what are we looking for here? You're gonna laugh. And be upset. But it has been a few days since we had Mommy's Knife. Been a few days since we have Brimstone. Boy, howdy, they would really hit the spot right now. What a shot. I mean, did you see that shot? What a shot, dude. Hey, you don't get to come back to life. Only I get to come back to life, and even then, only by the aid of one of a few different items in the game, you know? Can't go in there, that's fine. You know what Kate and I started watching the other day? I'm gonna... This reflects poorly on me as a viewer of content. And I'll tell you why in a bit. But we started watching The Haunting of Hill House, which I always call House on Haunted Hill, even though one of them is a movie starring Catherine Zeta-Jones, and the other one is a Netflix show that's good. Admittedly, so that came out in like 2018. I watched I have memories of watching the first episode and being like, I don't think this show is for me. And then, you know, Kate was like, you know what, I'm in the mood to watch like a show that's kind of scary. So I was like, you know, I heard The Haunting of Hill House is really good, but I never really got into it. So we started watching it. When we started watching it, I realized I had only watched like the first 5 minutes of episode 1 and thought that it was like... I thought it was different than what it was. Let me put it that way. And you know, this is extremely... Like, it's not even spoilers, it's just a reveal of how the show is framed. I thought it was entirely filmed, like, as if it were set in one period of time. And I was like, I'm not sure the tone of this is like what I'm vibing with. But then like literally after scene 1, they take it to the present day, and then they use, the history of the house and the children and families' experience in it as a way to kind of like, set up the way that the characters are now. And I was like, oh, this is actually really good. So what I had done is watched 5 seconds of the show and then been like, you know what, I don't think this is for me. And then literally the 6th second was like, oh, now we're getting interesting. I'm eager to see how this show goes, dude. I'm eager to see how the show goes. Seems very genuinely effective horror so far. We might as well go back to our boss trap room. This is a very good run so far. HP is fine. We didn't take Rotten Baby willy-nilly. Rotten Baby is just a good item to have. Divorce Papers really sorted out our rate of fire here. Like, we're looking at some good... Oh, the bone heart counts, dude. Whoa, the bone heart counts, dude. Sorry, and it's not a good Keanu Reeves impression. You see the interview that Keanu Reeves gave? They asked him who would win in a fight, John Wick or Neo, which is a ridiculous question. Because, and look, I love the John Wick movies, but Neo is actually like a god. Look, I'm not mad at the reporter for asking the question, because, we're talking about a pretty minor issue, and also, if you're a culture reporter, it's your job to generate conversation, and they got a great answer. But Neo would defeat John Wick, because even if John Wick could defeat Neo, Neo would just, rewrite the code of the scene in order to make him win. But I think Neo would not fight John Wick, because they're both on the side of goodness. But that is what Keanu Reeves said. He said they wouldn't fight, and then I think the reporter was like, what if Neo hit John Wick's car? Or what if Neo hit John Wick's dog with this car, and then Keanu, he just kept like jumping through hoops, and he was like, he would remake the scene so that he didn't hit the dog, and they would unite to fight, evil. Thought it was a fun interview. That being said, Keanu, come on. How on earth could John Wick defeat Neo? I'm an unabashed, and I don't think there's any reason to be ashamed of it. I'm an unabashed stan of the John Wick films. I think they're, the most, I think they're the best action movies of, like, the past decade. If you don't like action movies, that's fine. But stop telling me that they're stupid just because they have guns and explosions in them. We went through the same thing with, like, Mission Impossible Fallout. I was like, this movie is a high-octane thrill ride. And then people were like, yeah, but that would never happen in real life. Let's go. You're free to not, like, think it's good, but when you start to, dissect it on that level... I mean, my philosophy on that stuff. Anytime people are like... hey, fictional movie doesn't stand up to the test of whether or not this is plausible to take place in real life. I'm like, okay, well, it depends on what the movie's going for, whether or not I take that seriously, If we're talking about a movie that's designed to be like, a true-to-life coming-of-age tale about a young girl's journey to become a woman, Then if they're like, oh, she jumped 35 feet off the ground, I would be like, that's a little, tonally dissonant with the rest of the film. Talking about a movie where, to sneak into a party, 2 dudes jump out of an airplane 35,000 feet above, the Louvre with no oxygen mask. Then I'm like, you know what? Just shut up and either, like, go along. Like, why did you watch it if you're gonna... Like, I don't want to be that guy and be the gatekeeper. If you're gonna watch... the movie's literally called Mission Impossible. It's not called, like, things that are likely to happen in real life. Like, the title is like, this is unbelievable. Yeah, but they took it a little too far. I'm a believer that you can't conceptually, with movies like that, take them too far. But the further you take them, the better the execution has to be. Oh my god, that scared me. I'm gonna go get the door. One moment. I have returned. Oh, wait, did I just went in. Okay, yeah. But I believe that. I believe, like... I mean, I'll just tell you, I think we're in for a Crank renaissance. I think that when the movies Crank and Crank 2 High Voltage came out, a lot of people picked up on it. A lot of people were like, this is some inventive stuff, even though ridiculous. But a lot of people could not get over the absurdity of the initial premise for long enough to actually get down with what the movie had going on. I'm not saying if you got the premise you would necessarily like the movie, because I mean, I hate it when people, whenever you're like, you know, I didn't really like Justice League, people are like, oh, you just didn't get it. I understand. I wouldn't like it if I was too simple to understand Justice League as well, but regardless, anyway, we're moving on. So I think my dream, I know they're making a Matrix 4. I know they're making a John Wick 4. It will never happen, but my dream, in all sincerity, is they merge the movies, and then Keanu plays both Neo and John Wick. I know you're like, why not just make it so that John Wick is the next The One or something like that? I'm not saying that if you did it right, that would be nonsensical. I think that that could be very sensible. I guess we'll try this, and we hate it. That's okay, though. You know, I think I'll take some HP here. In all likelihood, we are not going to be getting that much more money, so we might as well just take what we can get here. I want a full-blown Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, one actor playing multiple characters sort of deal. I want Keanu Reeves in twin roles as Neo and John Wick. I want Gemini Man. Oh, if you'll excuse me, someone's at the door. One moment, please. Alright, I've returned again. This is like a new record. We'll pick this up here for package delivery. It is yet again more free baby products. There are a lot. I'm grateful for it. Don't get me wrong. I do think, like, look, it's not to sound ungrateful, but I do think I should put a sign on the door that's like, just leave the package, don't knock. I'm not trying to be like, oh, they're not doing things right. You know, I think that the average consumer who is waiting for a package would like to be notified the package is at their door. For me, I'm like, we should just put like well, we got all this baby stuff coming in at least. We just put like a bin out there and then be like, just drop the package in the bin and move on. And then, like, you know, if it gets yanked off our doorstep, it's the cost of doing business. Because, like, the interruptions are getting a little absurd. I'm only mildly annoyed, but it's like, it is getting to the point where I'm like 3 times a day. If they could, or alternatively, if they all use the same shipper, so they all came at the same time, that's like the mail, that's one thing, but gotta interface with like 3 different delivery people a day. I'm not, again, complaining. It's a quality problem to have for a good reason, but it is like, come on, there's gotta be an optimization here for us. Anyway, that's what I want. I want Keanu Reeves to play both John Wick and Neo in the new Matrix / John Wick. And you might be like, that's ridiculous. Dude, it can't be any worse than the Matrix 3, so I am cautiously optimistic about the well, let me put it this way. I am openly optimistic about John Wick 4. I know there is a contingent of people out there who are like, once a narrative takes hold about a movie on the internet, it takes a long time to get rid of it, you know? If ever. Like, people are still going off about signs constantly. Well, I love the movie. It's an effective thriller, but at the same time, how are we supposed to believe that the aliens wouldn't do their scouting and their weakness is the thing that is 70% of the Earth's surface? I don't know. And then people start to have like arguments online. Well, maybe the aliens were under duress. Maybe the aliens were forced to flee and they had to find a planet at like very short notice. Nobody cares. Just watch the movie and like I hate to say it, but I do sometimes think that this platform, i.e. YouTube, but also social media to some extent in general, have I don't want to say that they have set back film criticism, because I think that there is still, I think there's still great critique being done. And if anything, no longer do you have to, subscribe to a regional periodical in order to have access to it. It's available on the internet for everybody, right? But I think that so many of, the popular film review channels, and this is admittedly a little gatekeepy, I'll admit that it's gatekeepy, are not really film critics, which is fine. They're just people who like movies, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But then when they start to fixate on plot holes becoming the most important thing that a movie needs not to, quote unquote plot holes being the most important thing a movie needs not to have in order to, be a movie that's considered worth watching, like that, I think is something I disagree with. Whether or not you agree it's a mistake is up to you. But different people are looking for different things out of their movies as well, I'll admit. But so the thing with John Wick 3 is yeah, I liked it. I mean, it had some good stuff, but I mean, that stuff in the desert, oof. Do that stuff in the desert. I was in the theater. I was like, I'm paused. Get him. Woof woof. Anyway, maybe I'm just an easy critic for everything except anime. I mean, it's a book. Run. I still want Book of the Dead here. We're gonna have boss rush access too. How about that? But I was all in on John Wick 3. I thought John Wick 3 was. I honestly thought it was the strongest of the trilogy. For me, I'm a 3-1-2 sort of guy, but I do like them all. I think 3 and 1 are very close, and 2 is slightly worse, but still very good. That's where I'm at. Now the Matrix is 1, 2, 3 by far for me. There were no enemies on that room. Oh, we'll go to the shop here for sure. Matrix 1, I look at it the same way people talk about the George Lucas on the first Star Wars movies. I think that the Matrix, and this is something that in Wachowski's other work has kind of been a recurring theme, in my opinion. I think that they also benefit from having people rein them in, if that makes sense. The Matrix 1 is a great, a sublime action movie with obviously heavy science fiction elements and light philosophical themes, and it works really well. But as it started to get, I feel like maybe they got a little wrapped up in the mythology of the show, and they started, or of the universe, and they started to, ask more questions and answer more questions about the Matrix, and people who were in, myself included, I guess we'll just start donating here, kind of started to be I thought I wanted to know more about the mysteries of the Matrix, but really, all I want is for you to keep having thought-provoking themes and then also great action. Now that you're actually starting to answer these questions about who is the Oracle and what's going on with this, and that's where I hit the point where I was like, you know what? I thought that I was all about the themes in this movie, but I actually, and I think if you do the themes super well, and a lot of people probably really like the Matrix sequels, I've been told. But I think that you could maybe make a case that hit for a lot of people. But I was definitely in the camp as a 14-year-old that was I want to know what's going on with this, and then when you have a 20-minute dialogue scene where Neo's talking to a dude wearing a white suit, and I'm like, no, I didn't actually want to know this. Or I think, like, you could have maybe, like, you know, done it a little differently, and then, could have also had, like, a cooler fight scene involved. But anyway. So I hope, my hope for The Matrix 4 is that it is... By the way, I know a lot of people really enjoy the Wachowskis' philosophical, spiritual side. So, you know, if that's what you're looking for out of The Matrix 4, then if you get it, I'm happy for you. It's not what I'm looking for specifically, but that's, it's okay. You know, there's enough movies out there. Always have John Wick. And I always hesitate, because now, like, the narrative that can take root now, very clearly, is like, oh, so you just want a brain-dead action movie? You don't want any discussion of, like, philosophical... No, it's not like that. It's like, if you execute on the philosophy part of it, I think you could totally get it done. But me, personally, I don't think you necessarily got to that level in the Matrix sequels. Also, I think if you find yourself in the position of vehemently defending the Matrix sequels... you got another thing coming, let me put it that way. So, we have BFF, so I'm like, you know what, I think our actual best play here is Attack Fly. I don't want to do the Nod Leaf style gameplay. We could use Book of Shadows on the Demon Judgment, but this Demon Judgment's gonna pay out anyway. You very, 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 very rarely get Demon Judgments that are, you know, trolly. Usually... they'll give you what you're looking for pretty quickly. Alright, shows what I know. There we go. Gimpy's a good pickup here. I guess we would like Dim Bulb more than anything else. And I'm gonna look for maybe like an Emperor card or something. Holy card. Justice card. Justice card. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on John Wick and The Matrix. Case that was burning a hole in your mind. What does NL think about John Wick and The Matrix? I don't need to go off on this again, but if you missed the episode, I don't know, like a month ago, I really, you know, I like good movies. I know everybody would say that, but, you know, I like movies that a lot of people are like, those movies are for snobs. However, I also simultaneously, because man is nothing if not a bundle of contradictions, think that, look at that, that's gameplay. People write off action movies as being universally only for dummies, which is definitely not the case. You know, it's no less artful, in my opinion, to design a beautiful fight scene than it is to write a scene, you know, with some beautiful dialogue. Now, I'm definite, like, when it comes to action movies, believe it or not, I'm almost like more of an action movie snob than like a drama snob. Like, I'll watch like an okay drama and be like this is fine. But if a boring action movie is like the worst, because you're getting nothing out of it. And so many action movies are actually shot like trash. Because it's not easy, right? You know, but they're very quick camera cuts that make all the action seem inconsequential. Close-ups of giant transforming robots that are so close you can't tell whether you're looking at like an elbow or a gear shifter, you know? That's why when they're done right, I'm like, that's sick. That's why I'll always, and I know that this can get you lampooned, but that's why I'll always have a soft spot for Chris Nolan. I think, you know, in the same vein as The Matrix 1, I think he does somewhat thought-provoking action movies where the action is still filmed pretty well. Now, again, you know, if you want to talk about an actor who, or a filmmaker who is judged on their worst work, I know Christopher Nolan doesn't need me to defend him, and if anything, you probably encounter way more breathless praise of Christopher Nolan online than you do, you know, criticism. However, I do think that he is often judged at, you know, the level of The Dark Knight Rises. which is a movie that I do not care for. But I think you throw Inception out with the bathwater. You know, I think Inception is a good movie, dude. Anyway, in my opinion. No need to talk movies, though, because there aren't any. Unless you're going to see New Mutants. Tried explaining, and I'll give you some context as well. New Mutants is a film in the X-Men universe that was filmed like 4 years ago. It stars Maisie Williams, aka Arya from Game of Thrones, and Anya Taylor, whatever her name is. I apologize, I'm not meaning to be rude, I just don't remember. You know, she's from Split and The Witch, and anyway. She's in Thoroughbreds, which is a great film if you've not seen it. Anyway, excuse me. Oh no, the door is on the low side here. There we go. So anyway, this movie was filmed like 4 years ago. What happened? Well, I think like the X-Men franchise is like both blessed and cursed, right? It's blessed to have had some of the best film adaptations and also cursed to have no consistency in terms of the quality of the franchise whatsoever. So like, I think that they did reshoots because the word on the street was like the film is not testing well. And then the reshoots like went into, the period of time where Disney was purchasing Fox, and then Disney purchased Fox, and they're like, okay, we gotta, I don't know, reshoot it or cut it or whatever. And then, it was supposed to come out like in April of 2020, and then like the coronavirus shut down all the theaters. Like the first trailers for this movie for real came out in like 2017. I can't believe it's finally making it to theaters. Now the thing is, like, I don't want to necessarily get into it, but Disney is not providing screeners for critics. They're saying like, hey, if you want to go see it at a theater. And a lot of critics are like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing that because of the whole, So I have no idea whether the buzz on the street is that it's great or terrible. So what I'll say is that all signs point to it. Like, there is no indicator that this movie should be any good at all based on its cursed production and release and the fact that it's not being easily screened for critics. However, wouldn't it be something, and I admit I don't hold out any hope for it, it's not like I'm pinning my hopes and dreams on its success. Wouldn't it be something if it was actually amazing though? It would be one of the most surprising stories about the film business in a long time, I think, if New Mutants came out and was actually, like, a great X-Men movie. Now, I will admit, the media surrounding the film does not leave me with a lot of encouragement, and as I've said many times in the past, I pride myself. There's a few little, like, mundane quirks about myself that I do pride myself on. I am very good at telling time without having a watch handy. Oh yeah, what time is it now? It is 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. How about that? Oh my god, he's right. Well, the episode comes out at 6 Pacific time, so I built in 2 minutes for you to remember that it's out, and then I said Pacific time, so you go translate it, and you know what, even if you're not watching it the day it came out, eventually, with enough people watching this episode, it's going to get a couple people, and they're going to be, like, really freaked out, and it's going to be sick. But anyway, regardless of that, apart from being able to tell time without a watch, not down to the second, but, like, pretty well, I told you they were mundane. I have a pretty great track record of being able to see a trailer and be like, that movie's gonna be good, or that movie's gonna be a stinky one. And I gotta admit, most of my the alarm bells that are ringing when I look at the New Mutants trailer are uh-oh stinky. However, I've been wrong before. It does happen. I would bet the under on stinkiness. However, I mean, it would be a heck of a story. Let me put it that way. It's kind of, I always think back to like you know, the Blade Runner sequel. Yeah, it had Denis Villeneuve doing it, and, you know, Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford returned, and like, the number one thing is, like, if someone's coming out with a sequel to a movie, and, like, the main cast is like, I don't really want to be a part of that. That's where you... Like, if you had any hopes for the second Independence Day movie, I hope that you kept your expectations in check when you found out Will Smith was like, nah, I don't really want to be a part of that one. Yes, Jeff Goldblum was a part of it, but honestly, Jeff Goldblum seems like the kind of guy who's just like, I don't want to say he's happy to have a job, like he has low standards, but he just seems like the kind of guy that's like, you're going to pay me $2 million to, you know, come hang out on set and be like a little bit of a charismatic weirdo. I'm all in. Will Smith seems more like the kind of guy who's like, I gotta make sure that I'm taking good stuff for my career, which is obviously why he ended up doing After-Earth instead. Hey, anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal, of course. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching. We're at 30 wins in a row, and I'll see you next time. See ya!